Hey friends, this is Soph. So was my MBA worth it? It cost me $100,000 before scholarship, $80,000 after scholarship. I think for me personally, the answer is yes. What is a long answer then? Keep watching. A little bit about my background. I went to Penn State for supply chain and information systems. I graduated in 2017 and went to work for 3 years at a industrial manufacturing company. That's when I started my MBA in 2020. I chose the online version of MBA at USC Marshall simply because one, I couldn't really afford to not work and have no income and go to school full time. Before I chose to go with an MBA, I had two paths in front of me. One is obviously the MBA, and the other was to get a master's in data science. And now that I have my MBA, let's break it down and see how I decided that my MBA was worth it for $100,000 before scholarship, $80,000 after scholarship. I'm just gonna call it $100,000 from now on just because that's a nice whole number. To evaluate it, I created 4 different criterias. The first criteria is financial return or ROI. The second criteria is opportunities that you may or may not get because you have an MBA. The third criteria is knowledge, and the fourth criteria is network. Now, for each of those 4 criterias, I broke it down to 2 time frames. The first time frame is now, and I defined now to be from when I started my MBA to 5 years from now. So we're in 2024. That would mean I started my MBA in 2020. The now time frame for me means 2020 to 2029. The second time frame is the future time frame, and that is from anywhere from 5 years to 35 years. Translating into our time frame now, that would mean 2029 to basically until I retire. So now we have the 4 criterias, and for each of those criterias we have 2 different time frames. So basically we have 8 lines we need to evaluate whether it's going to be a yes, it is worth $100,000, or no, it is not worth $100,000. The first criteria is financial return or ROI. For the now time frame, I gave it a no, simply because after I graduated, I didn't get paid more because of my MBA. I didn't get a promotion or anything like that. For the future time frame, I kind of gave it a question mark no. The reason why I did that is because it's really uncertain, at least in my opinion. I'm sure we've all read articles that says if you have an MBA, you're going to make X% more. Now, I'm sure that is true, but I just don't know how true that is when it is applied to 5 to 35 years in the future. I do want to believe that is true, but I think there are a bunch of other factors that go into it, so that I can't be sure that is going to be a for sure no, it's not worth it, or yes, it is going to be worth it. So I kind of gave it a question mark no. The second criteria is opportunities, and for the now time frame, I gave it a no, that is not worth it for me because I am trying to pursue a more data science route right now, and I would like to find a job that is similar to a product data scientist, where you stand at the intersection of operation, so say supply chain and data science. I've looked at a lot of jobs for product data scientist positions, and they either don't mention that they need an MBA, or they would say that MBA is preferred. So really having an MBA doesn't really make or break things. For the future time frame, I gave it a yes, it is worth it, because I believe as I get more experience and move into more senior and managerial positions, an MBA is going to be immensely helpful, not only just to help me to get a job, but also to help me manage the relationship between me and my boss, or between me and my teammates, or between me and my direct reports. On top of that, a lot of more senior positions, I've noticed the job postings do include that MBA is a requirement. The third criteria is knowledge. For the now time frame, I gave it yes, it is worth it. I broke knowledge down to hard skills and soft skills. Under the hard skills section, there are two things that I noted in particular. The first is that because of my MBA and because of the different areas that I learned about in my MBA, including accounting, finance, and B-Law, I had the confidence to register for an LLC. Even though I don't really have an experience doing this before, I feel confident because I've seen it done in class and I know what running a small LLC will require. The second thing that I noticed is that now that I have learned a bit more about the business realm of things, I understand more in the business news. I can sometimes figure out why a company is doing things at the time that they're doing it and how that would impact their stock price or market cap and all that stuff. Now for the soft skills, I think actually what drove me to give this now time frame a yes is the soft skills. After I got admitted to USC and before I started class, during that period, I was actually very anxious because I am going into a pretty good business school and I just kind of assumed that everybody is going to be smarter than me, everybody's going to work harder than me, everybody's gonna be great and I'm not going to be great. And that made me very anxious until I started class. And I started to notice that yes, my classmates are very smart. Yes, they're also very hard working, but also like me, they don't have any idea what they're doing. Like they don't know shit, just like I don't know shit. And that kind of gave me the confidence to just be me. Transferring that from business school to beyond, now even though when I walk into a room and everybody looks like they're very put together, I don't just automatically assume that they're better than me. Well, sometimes I still do, but I would say now that I have an MBA degree and I've seen my classmates, I am way better than I was before I started my MBA degree. For the future time frame, I gave it a no, that is not worth it, because I feel like by the time 5 years to 35 years arrives, I will have forgotten all of the things that I learned in business school. Quite honestly, right now in 2024, 2 years after graduation, I have forgotten about a lot of the things that I've learned already. The last criteria is network. And for the now time frame, I gave it a yes, that it is worth it. I genuinely loved the people that I met during my MBA program, even though I started my program in 2020 at the peak of the pandemic, and I rarely got to meet these people face to face because it was an online program. Despite all of that, I still made new friends, learned about their perspectives. I traveled to football games with them and had a lot of fun. And I even went on a week-long trip to Hawaii with one of my classmates. On top of the friends that I made through the MBA, I've also noticed that the class is very helpful when you are in need. We have a WhatsApp group chat and is active when somebody gets laid off by their job. Not only do people give kind words, they also try to help. They will either give referrals or the company that potentially would have opportunities for this person. On average, I would say when somebody reaches out in that group chat for help, there are at least 3 people that would jump in and try to help that person. I don't think you get that kind of help elsewhere. And even just beyond the support and the help that you can get from your classmate, there is also a huge USC alum network that you can tap into. As of now, I haven't really tapped into that network, but that brings me to the future time frame. I also give my future time frame a yes, that is worth it, because of that network. The network isn't going to go anywhere. And because I did my MBA there, I can easily tap into it whenever I need to. So in conclusion, if we just do an average of all the 8 lines that we just talked about, the 4 criterias times the 2 time frames for each criterias, if we just count the yeses, there are 4 yeses. If we count the no's, there are 3 no's and kind of a question mark no. So that equals to yes, it is worth it. If we do a strict average, what we can also do is to do a weighted average. So in my personal opinion, all the 4 things could weigh differently. For example, I weighed financial return at 25%, opportunities at 25%, knowledge at 15%, and network at 25%. That adds up to 100%. And for each of the yeses, I gave it a +1 point. For each of the no's, I gave it a -1 point. And for the kind of question mark no, I gave it a 0 point. If we do a weighted average that way, the outcome is still greater than 0, which means it's worth it. Now, if say I weighed financial return at like 90%, then maybe it's not worth it anymore. Based on this model, either way, if we do a strict average or a weighted average, it is worth it for me. Now, I understand this is a very kind of personal evaluation as to whether each line is worth it or not. You can easily transfer this to yourself and ask yourself, okay, first of all, what are some of the criteria that I really care about that would decide whether I get an MBA or not? It could be the same 4 criteria that I have here, or it could be different. Next, you can divide out your time frame like I did, or you can just don't do that. Make it easy and make it one line for each criteria. And from there on, you can figure out whether each line is going to be worth it for you and your personal situation. I think doing it this way kind of reduced the whole really big question of is an MBA worth it down to the different perspective, and makes it a little bit easier to assess and less overwhelming. In the description box, I will include a Google Sheet where I did the average and the weighted average for my evaluation, and I will also throw what I wrote for all of my criteria and time frames in there so you can refer to it. I hope this video was helpful to you. Now be nice to yourself and to those around you. Until next time, bye.